It was a gathering of Catholic theologians from various parts of the country. They are here at the Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria for their 38th Annual Conference. The 3 days conference, which had the theme Theology, Culture, and the New Media in Nigeria, began with a Holy Mass officiated by John Cardinal Onaikan, the Emeritus Archbishop of Abuja.
2,000 years after the resurrection, many people who call themselves Christians are still not too sure that Jesus has risen from the dead. They are still going around wondering. Our own hope had been that things will be different from what they are now. You people are good Catholic theologians. You are not part of those people who still are not sure that Jesus has risen. Jesus opened their minds to the scriptures about himself. They themselves said later that their heart was burning within them. But they did not recognize Jesus. So, warning to many of us who are Bible scholars, we can go from Genesis to Revelation with our heart burning and still not meet the risen Lord or recognize him. They offered Jesus hospitality as it was getting dark to come and stay with them for the night. At supper, they recognized Jesus at the breaking of bread.
After the homily, offertory and Eucharistic celebration followed. When the Mass was over, the 38th conference began. The chairman of the occasion, Reverend Father Professor Cornelius Omonohua, in his remarks, gave the historical perspective of the evolution of the mass media from town crier to our modern day.
My own say, theology is the study of God. And who is God? How do you know God? We account God in our existential experiences. You see the God reveal himself to a people according to the environment. Because if you are living among the rocky area, you will not see God as a God of the river. Or you are living River Rhine, you will not see God as a God of the mountains.
The national chairman of Cathan, Reverend Father Luke Emehiele Ijezie, in his opening remarks, chronicled the evolution of the media and highlighted the use of the new media in promoting evangelization in the church.
The chairman of today's opening ceremony, Professor Cornelius Afebu Omonohua. Our guest speakers, Most Reverend Gerard Aman Musa, Catholic Bishop of Asim, Reverend Father Dr. Maurice Emelo, representative of John Carroll University, Ohio, USA. Honorable Mrs. Noel Mary Berger, Special Advisor to the Governor on Women and Affirmative Action, United States. On the way. Our invited guests, members of the press, our Annual Cathan members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Today we begin a historical gathering that will be remembered for many years to come. Today, the Catholic Theological Association of Nigeria, Cathan, opens our first conference in the area of communication and media studies. This is an area of development that has tremendously helped humanity through the ages. When Noah wanted to know whether the great flood had subsided at the end of 40 days, he did some very significant things. He opened the window of the ark and released 2 birds. First, the raven, and then the dove. But both quickly returned to the ark, having nowhere to perch. After 7 days, he released the dove again, and this time it came back in the evening with an olive leaf. He waited for another 7 days and released the dove again, but this time it never returned. In this way, Noah realized that the waters had dried from the surface of the earth. This gives us an idea of how ancient people tried to get information in a world without science and technology. The historian Herodotus tells the story of the great Greek hero Philippides, who in 419 BC, after the battle between the Persians and the Greeks, ran non-stop a distance of 40 kilometers from Marathon to Athens to break the news of the Greek victory. As he reached Athens, the Greek capital, he pronounced the words, "Kyrie Nikome," rejoice, we conquer, or we are conquerors. And immediately he collapsed and died.
Representing the Archbishop of Abuja, Most Reverend Ignatius Kaigama, Monsignor Kenneth Enang stated that the Catholic Church is the authentic form of religious information in the society.
We live in a world irrevocably changed by the media. And I thank you for making use of the exhortations of the Second Vatican Council to see that the media is properly used for your work. The theme, theology, culture, and the unity of Nigeria, speaks a very eloquent essence of where the Nigerian Catholicism finds itself today. We live in a world altered by the media. And what we used to be guarded very carefully has now overstepped its frontiers. We are shaking to the foundation of how our church is engaged now in the media. For decades, our church has been in a position of authority, acting as a trusted source of religious guidance and information. However, the rise of the social media platforms to the various forms has changed this paradigm. Individuals now have a direct line to religious discourse by passing the channels of the church. This present shift has a fascinating duality. On the one hand, it offers an unprecedented opportunity for outreach. We can leverage these platforms to reach a broader and wider audience, share the gospel with the new generation, and foster a stronger sense of community among believers across the vast expanse of our country.
The keynote speaker and the Bishop of Katsina Diocese, Most Reverend Gerard Mama Musa, in his presentation, drew the relationship between theology, culture, and the new media, and how the church can take advantage of it for effective media evangelization.
Theology is a structured study and analysis of religious beliefs and practices. Theology also involves understanding how cultural factors such as history, language, traditions, societal norms, and values shape religious understanding and expression. Next in line is the definition of culture, which refers to the shared patterns of beliefs, values, customs, language, and symbols that are learned and transmitted within a society. In summary, new media are contemporary communication channels that have facilitated virtual communities through instant multimedia and real-time interactive communication. These media transcend geographical and cultural boundaries, allowing individuals to create, share, and consume diverse forms of cultural content. In the next section, I want us to discuss the intersection between theology, culture, and the new media. The relationship between theology and culture is profound, dynamic, and reciprocal, with each influencing the other in different ways. There is a profound connection between theology and culture, inasmuch as theology is shaped by cultural contexts and communicated through cultural forms such as language, rituals, and symbols. Notably, there are various approaches to theology, one of which is contextualization, which emphasizes interpreting religious beliefs and practices within specific cultural, social, political, and historical contexts. Closely related to contextual theology is inculturation theology, which is a form of contextualization that seeks to creatively incarnate the gospel in African cultures, thereby making this message relevant to the African situation. There is an ongoing theological reflection within the context of our cultural churches to achieve unity and maturity in Christ. This is because all churches are cultural churches, including our own in Nigeria. It is crucial for Africans to deeply relate and apply their faith in unique circumstances, challenges and concerns where different cultures interact and where people are divided by ethnic and cultural differences. The connection between theology, culture, and the new media lies in the transformative impact of digital technologies on religious beliefs, practices, and identities within diverse cultural contexts. Another glaring relationship between theology and culture is how theologians use communication media. A theologian admits, at the very least, we are all writing on digital devices. We are all publishing and reading digital texts, broadcasting our latest flashes of genius on social media, and drawing upon tech or technology for our teaching and research. These digital media, which include websites, social media platforms, blogs, podcasts, and mobile applications, are used by theologians for expression, connection, and creativity.
Various speakers took turns to speak on the theme of the conference and how theologians can leverage on the use of the new media for effective communication.
That's why I chose digital technology, because of the emphasis that we have this year to talk about. But I would like to make a claim, and if you don't understand anything else I say today, or don't appreciate it, or a strong critic of it, or advocate of it, there is one common thesis I want us to think about. And it is a simple thesis, that transitioning from true dependency to innovation is the surest way to advance our place and relevance as a church in the digital ecosystem. That's my claim. The rest of the presentation will be, in one way or another, fleshing out this claim. And I understand I have at least 1 hour to talk, and I appreciate that. We'll do our best to keep to that 1 hour. We are all scholars. And as scholars, we are engaged with understanding. We seek to understand the underlying principles.
Some of the dignitaries spoke to CTV.
The most popular definition of theology, or one of the most popular, I would say, is that which comes from St. Anselm. He calls theology, or he defines theology as fides querens intellectum, which means faith seeking understanding. So as we know also, theology is the study of the divine and his relationship with human beings. It is also a study of doctrines, of beliefs, of faith experiences and practices. So theology cannot do without culture, because today we talk about inculturation. That is to say that our doctrines and faith are responding to our cultural setting, our cultural situation. We cannot talk about theology without context. We cannot talk about scriptures without context in which it is being interpreted. So theology and culture go together. If you define culture as a way of life, and if you define theology as the study of the divine as well as doctrines and practices, we can say that it is practiced within a given culture. So we are talking about theology and Nigerian culture.
The topic is really not directly theological. It's more technical, scientific, communications than theological. But everything about communications affects theology, because theology has to do with discussion on God, about God. And whatever theologians are saying about God, they must have a way of making it known to others, of communicating it to others. Not only in terms of bringing the language to be accessible to people, but finding the technological instruments for putting it across, which is what we are talking about now. We do know that as far as technological means of communications are concerned, and especially as far as the digital technology is concerned, the world is going through a completely new phase. We can talk of a revolution, which no part of the church can dare to ignore.
You are watching CTV,